Liz, Jane, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Check my. Hate when I switch from my home office to my work office and back and forth, and it throws all my speakers off. So I don't know if I'm actually being heard or if I can actually hear anybody. So, okay. Let's figure out why I don't have sound. Well, I heard something. That's a good thing. Okay. Welcome to the discussion. Doug, Woody, you're 2 minutes late. I expect 2 laps. Go. Let me know when you're done.
Completed.
Nice. Oh boy. I think we'll give it a few minutes for people to get on here. I think Woody is muted. Let me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to be muted because I'm at work.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So I'm not going to have a presentation for this. I'm going to kind of just walk through the important highlights of this so that if you guys have got questions moving forward, we can get those answered and you guys can get on your way about getting your affidavits put together. Now, if you would like me to come out sometime this week, I'd be happy to walk through going through your affidavits and get you squared away there. I would like to point out I did make an offer to Doug that I feel that he's going to take me up on here. And instead of you guys dropping your books off with me, I want to come out to each one of the parks and pick a night where we sign off verification forms and birth certificates and approve affidavits and scan all the copies that we need to scan in one shot so it's done. And then you guys, if you've got anything to make up or add in or get proper replacements for, you know right there what you need to do. And you may be able to get that accomplished during that time period. And if you can, awesome. We'll get it completed and we'll move on. But at that point, in order to be fair to the rest of the parks, we're going to have that entire week prior to the 27th. So we're basically saying, oh man, actually that doesn't work out, but we'll make it work. We'll make it work. We don't have a lot of time. I will put this out here. We are going to have a mandatory managers meeting on June 28th. I know that's the day that I selected for the start of the senior baseball tournament, but based upon the number of enrollments in the baseball tournament right now, I don't think we need all that time, and I think we would be better served doing a Sunday kickoff managers meeting. So, and then that allows us to start playing Monday, get through the weekend so that we're done in time to give everybody's pitchers rest to get to the state tournament. So, all right. So what we're looking at here tomorrow, you have to have all the teams that you're going to enter into tournament registered in the data center. If you don't get it done by tomorrow, there's a whole thing I got to go through with Central Region to get it done. Plus, tomorrow night, after I see all the registrations, I'm going to build the brackets so that I can have them handed out before we do our managers meeting, so that you guys have as much pre-warning as possible. That being said, you guys do know that that may change the overall length of the tournament, depending on how many people try to push in afterwards or how many people unenroll afterwards. I don't want to change the start dates of the tournament. I want to leave those where they're at. But we will change the championship dates. So be aware. If I set a 7-day schedule for a tournament and we've got 3 teams in that bracket, it's not going to take 7 days. Or if I build the bracket and 3 teams drop out, now all of a sudden we can complete that in, a fraction of the time. So, but I do want to maintain the start dates on what we posted on the website. And I want to make sure that we start doing this from now on. As soon as I find out what the state dates are, we will post what our anticipated start date is. And if you guys want to get ahead of me on that, I don't know if you're familiar with the Indiana District Administrator Association's website. I'll send the link to you guys later tonight. That is always the first place that the state tournament dates are posted. And you will see the way they post them when they're pending and when they're confirmed. Now, if you back every one of those up 10 days, that's probably within 2 or 3 days of when we're going to start our district tournament. The concern that we have, and this is where some consideration needs to come into effect, we have to make sure that we don't have tournaments stacked on top of each other with semifinals and finals all happening in the same weekend, because, well, it's kind of impossible for us to fill enough spots for umpires if we're running 2 semifinals and a final in 6 divisions on the same weekend. It just can't be done. So in that case, it does have to be staggered a little bit depending on how they lay out. So that's where some of the nuance comes in to scheduling our district tournaments. Does anybody have any questions about the requirements to have that on the data center by tomorrow night? Okay. Moving on. I am going to, let's see, share this page. No, that's not what I want. we're going to that's the one. And hello, Liz.
Hi, sorry, I'm a little late.
No, I made Woody and Doug run 2 laps for being 2 minutes late. It's 4:09. I'm pretty sure you can do the math.
I'm right on that for you.
Nice. Nice. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. We got to have standards, right?
Right, there you go. Fair is fair, right?
It is. It is. So, all right. So what you guys are looking at now, this is my entrance into the data center. I don't have access to affidavits. So I am going to, does anybody have a affidavit that they would like to use as an example? Like, have you guys put in a team yet?
I have not yet.
Okay. Who else do we have here? What about Goshen? Let's see if Goshen's got anything in the chat.
I don't think Diamond's put it in yet.
Okay. Okay.
She was going to today. I don't have that
David,
ability.
and
I
I-
have just a player agent.
Okay. Okay. And Doug, you're doing a combo.
Well, we have our Little League major baseball team. I think I started that process. I don't think I rolled through it yet. So if it's there,
Let's take a look.
You-
Don't see it. So we're usually I've got a link here where it says manage affidavits. Okay. Not a big deal. I'm pretty sure. Well, I'd love to have an example of it. Here's what I'm going to do when it comes to the affidavit. I've got a really great video that Jim Kemp from District 6, the district or the DA down there, he did a really great video on a Zoom meeting, walks through the entire thing. Unfortunately, it's about 2 hours long. So I don't want us to sit here watching this video. I'm going to send you guys the link. I'm going to go over some highlights, some things that you need to keep in mind. Okay. So as you are putting together your affidavit, you're gonna pick the teams that you chose from. Now the requirement is that team was scheduled 12 Little League games. Now the player requirement and the team requirement are 2 different things. The player requirement is they had to play in 8 of those scheduled games, barring injury. If they have a doctor's note for injury, then it's 60% of the games that they were available to play. Or in the event of like a senior ball, if they had or junior ball. Senior ball doesn't have a requirement. Junior ball, if they're playing on a high school squad and they're not released, then once they're released, they have to have played 60% of those games. So the reality of it is, if they had 3 games that they were available for on the junior schedule, they would have had to play in at least 2 of them in order to be eligible. They're not going to hold them accountable for the previous games that the school didn't release them. Or if they were hurt, they're not going to be held accountable for the fact that they were hurt. But they got healthy, they played in whatever games they could, and now they're eligible to play. So there was a question, what do we have to do to turn in proof of playing and such? I'm not asking for that. I won't ask for that unless another park protests a player or a team. Then at that point, the onus is on whoever is being protested to provide the documentation, game changer results, whatever, that give you the proof that you did indeed fulfill the requirements for gameplay. Okay? We had a team a couple years back that had a player that was ineligible and they couldn't prove that he played in the games he was supposed to play. And due to that, the entire team was eliminated from the tournament. So if you've got a questionable player, make sure that you can prove that he played or she played in the appropriate number of games, because there will be consequences, and people talk. It happens. I'm not here to try to be the games played police. I'm going to take your word for it. You guys are all been elected as the president of your organization or the player agent of your organization, and I'm sure you've done your due diligence as best you can. And at that point, we'll move on. The manager of your team, the manager and coaches, had to have coached or managed in a league appropriate or an age appropriate division within your league. So if you had a minor coach that wanted to be able to manage 10, 11, 12 baseball, because that's in that age appropriate division, they have the ability to do that. But you couldn't take a minor coach and have him coach senior ball for your tournament team. Because, well, I'm sorry, I keep saying senior because that's the highest level, junior ball. Because he coached 11 to 7-year-olds as opposed to 12 to 15-year-olds. And on that note, junior teams, 12, 13, 14, age bracket, 12, 13, 14. Senior teams, 13, 14, 15, 16. 12-year-olds can't play seniors. 15-year-olds can't play juniors in tournament play. Make sense to everybody? I know it gets a little confusing sometimes because we vote as a district every year on 15-year-olds being able to participate in the junior division, but unfortunately that's only regular season. So let's not make the mistake of thinking that we can take our junior team if we've got 15-year-olds on it and just put them into the tournament. Moving on to roster construction. The rules say that you're required to have 12 players. I look at it from the perspective of, if you don't have multiple teams to choose from and you can't get a complete 12 team, if you've got 12 players on your original roster and you can't get 12 to commit, I understand that. Now, that may affect you later in the tournament if you're a dominant team and you make it through to regionals. But in the district, if you've got one team to choose from, I'm going to go ahead and sign off on that. I would highly recommend that you have at least 10, if not 11. 12 is the ideal number. But if you've got 9, and if you've got one team and you've got 9 and you want to run it, okay. But if you've got 9 and you lose one due to injury or whatever, you're done. You can't play with 9 in tournament time. You got to have 8, or you got to have 9. You can't play with 8. That's different than regular season interleague play. Interleague play, I allowed you to play with 8. In tournament play, you've got to have 9. That comes down from Williamsport. And in the event that you've got to forfeit that, you may not have any more opportunities in the tournament. So
Is 12
depends on the structure. What was that?
Is 12 the most you can have?
No, you can put, I believe it's 14 majors and down. I want to say it might even be 15, And I think you could put 16 on a senior team.
Okay, thank you.
One of the things to keep in mind too, and this is not really a player agent thing. It is in the tournament, juniors down, it is continuous batting order still. So if you put 14 on that roster, you're going to bat 14. There's no mandatory field time. You don't have to put them out in the field as long as the coach can deal with the parents, but they do need to be in the lineup. Juniors and down. Senior ball, regular ball. You got 9 in the lineup. You don't have any mandatory play. Substitution rules are in effect. Starters can't be in at the same time substitutions are. That's why when you look at your senior roster, sometimes you have a few more on there to kind of balance out pitching and such. So to get to the meat of what we need to talk about, comes down now that we've talked about
Bishop.
Yeah.
Bishop. So for clarification, when you go play a district game or the state tournament,
Yes,
you need to have a minimum of 12. Is that correct?
that is you need to have 12 on the roster.
If you show up with 11 because someone's sick or church camp or whatever, that
We're
that
we're gonna
reason
play.
is that reason is being submitted to whoever the tournament director is, and then a determination is made on whether or not that's a allowable excuse.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you decide then that that's not, or somebody decides, well, they if a team's just doing that to try to, I don't want to say taking advantage of it,
that's
and
100% it.
they have 12, let's just say they have 12 on the roster, they show up with
Mhm.
11, somebody decides, well, that wasn't a valid reason or excuse or whatever, then does that player just get slotted in the batting order and that counts as an out?
No. Let me clarify a few things real quick first before we get into the details of that. The someone that's going to make that decision is the competition committee at Williamsport. And if they deem that that was done nefariously to gain competitive advantage, they will bounce that team out of the tournament. They haven't done it a lot, but they have done it. So if you've got a player who gets injured during the tournament, okay, you got injured during the tournament. You're not required to replace that player. But by the same token, if you don't have 9 players to put on the field once the tournament starts, you cannot play that game and you must forfeit, unfortunately. Now, if it happens during a game, there's a different dynamic there. They'll let you finish the game. And then in the next game, if you can add an additional player to the roster that's qualified, you have the ability to do that unless that player is able to return. But by all means, I struggle with this rule because their answer is because I said so. There's no teeth behind any kind of penalty. We're going to try to err on the side of making sure that we get the kids to play. But if it's blatantly obvious that these guys never intended to bring a full roster and kids are just told not to show up, those kind of things get weighed on harshly. So, but again, that's all by Williamsport. That's not me. I just reported at that point.
So Bishop, has there ever been any discussion in this whole situation where you could roster 14 people, 14 players for any tournament game, and of the day of the game, you've got your allotment of 14, and the coach and the parents and everybody understands that when you show up, you're going to put 11 in the lineup. Let's say I'm just using 11 as a number. or 12, whatever that number may be, and two kids
Sure.
are in the dugout and they are just not part of the lineup. Has that ever been a
If-
discussion from Little League?
If they're in the dugout, they're in the lineup.
Okay, so
if
there's never
they're-
been a discussion amongst Little League to say, let Parks choose a roster of 15 on the day of the game. The two managers come out and they submit their lineup of 12 kids. There are 3 kids in the dugout that are not eligible to participate that day, but that could change based on managers' decisions.
No, I've never, even at Congress, I've
Okay.
never heard that. So, actually, it goes to so far as if they're in the park in uniform and not participating, then that becomes a problem. Like if they're at the facility and in uniform, they need to be in the lineup. Otherwise, that's protestable, and that could result in the manager's ejection. Now, if you put 14 on the roster and you tell your team those last 2 are, we're going to call them alternates, that's not something that's allowed or thought about by Little League. But what happens within the construction of your team in your park in that respect, that's going to be an on you kind of thing. I mean, that might have adverse effects on player retention unless there's really honest conversations about, look, you weren't quite good enough to make the squad, but in the event that we need you, you're going to be the first person we get a hold of. Any more
All right,
roster? Go
No,
ahead.
thank you, Bishop. Thank you. No,
Yeah,
thank
of course. I don't want that to sound like I'm promoting gamesmanship or anything like that, but the reality of it is, I want you guys to be able to put your 12 best players on the field, and in the event that you don't have commitment of 12 players to get out there, I don't want you to think that you can't do this, but by the same token, I want you to know that you've got to have 9. Now, what happens at the next level? That's a whole different ballgame. There's only one team out of every division, short of the 8-10 division, because we're going to send the runner-up also. But there's only one team out of every division that's going to actually move on to the next level. Oh, let me throw another caveat, except for junior softball and senior softball. Junior and senior softball don't play district. They go directly to state. The minute they register, they are in the state tournament. Which will be held at Oslo this year. Okay, let's talk about.
I have a question about managers being on this roster.
Yeah.
Managers on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my question is that you have 2 managers on the roster.
A manager
one of
and
them
2
can't
coaches.
make it to the game. Yeah, manager and 2 coaches. What happens if one or 2 can't make the game? Can you have standby people ready to step in?
Great question, Woody. Great question. Yes. And if it's for a one-time issue, that's not a problem. They can step in the event of an emergency. They need to have their background checks done, and they need to be able to have the park provide proof of that. And they need to have their abuse awareness training done. And they need to be able to provide proof of that to the tournament director at the site.
All right, can they be name affiliated with the team roster so we don't have to make phone calls or anything? I was reading all this last night. I'm just trying to
if you like, let's say you have to have that person there for 2 games, whoever they're there for needs to be taken off the roster and that person put in. You do have a one-time grace period, but we don't have any space for alternates. Alternates. There we go. I can say it.
That's what I was.
Yes. There's no named alternates for player, managers, or coaches. So if there's going to be a situation, as player agents and presidents, you need to know that you need to be aware of that. You need to have that documentation ready so that it can be provided to the site director for that particular game. That doesn't need to come to me. I don't need to see that. And actually, in the event that there needs to be a change done, or you've got to remove a coach and put another coach in, as a site director, you have the authority to do that and initial that change. I do need to be made aware of it. But for a single day stand-in coach, not a problem. You guys have the authority to review that and allow that to happen so the game can be played as normal.
Do you have to have 2 coaches and 1 manager?
No, but you really, really want to.
I know.
Because let me tell you
trouble
why.
At our juniors level, getting enough coaches.
I get it. I totally understand. But you do have to have one manager and or coach in the dugout at all times.
Okay.
So if you've only got a manager and a coach, well, then you got to figure out if you're going to send a player out in a helmet to go do first or third. And if you've only got a manager, then you've got to have players on first and third as base coaches.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
I just have a question. Under
Yes.
in the affidavit, it's got a section for the manager coach replacement.
Yes.
So
That's
that would just be
if
filled out
there's a
by hand.
replacement.
Okay. Okay. An actual replacement, not a substitute for a game.
Correct. We don't need to
Okay.
worry about that
Okay.
unless it goes to the second game and then we do the replacement.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
What you'll actually do as a site director, the original coach will be actually lined out on the affidavit. You'll initial it, and then you'll go to the replacement coach section and fill in the new coach's information.
Okay. I see that. Yep.
All righty. So the subject that gets everybody in a tizzy, residency. I'm going to make it really simple. Okay. The simplest way to do it is by however they registered with your Sports Connect, whether it was by actual residency documents or by school enrollment. Or in some cases now, they've had an out of bounds waiver and now they're eligible to play. That actually gives them their eligibility. So, Doug, you asked a question about one of your players that has an out of bounds waiver. If she continues to play there next year, when you go to put her on a roster, it will say waiver, right? You won't need to do anything else beyond that because it's just waiver. Nothing to worry about. In what we're going to look at, first of all, simplest thing for most parks, and it may not be applicable in your particular situation, but in most parks, the school enrollment form is the simplest thing to do. This school is inside my boundaries. And when you are setting up your affidavit, there is a section where you can list all the schools that are in your boundaries by address, right? And the name of the school. Take the time to go through all of your players. And if they enrolled by school enrollment form, make sure that you put each and every one of those schools into that section. It's at the very beginning. It's probably 3 or 4 sections in. Make sure that you get all those in there, because then when you put the players into the affidavit, you can automatically pull the school that they were associated with, and then you can move on from there, right? And then all I do is I verify the school enrollment form that matches the tournament or the player tournament verification form. And then I sign off on that. And then you're good to go after I check the birth certificate. So it's a pretty straightforward. It has to be signed by the school administrator, principal, vice principal, somebody on the school board, something like that, right? It actually says on the form. So one of the things that a lot of people struggle with that I want to take some time to talk about. Once you have residency, they can play for your park for the rest of their life, as long as they don't stop playing for your park. They could move to Michigan and they're still eligible to play here as long as they come back every year and play. The key is taking that copy of the residency that you have now, whether that's going to be the 3 proofs of residency or it's going to be the school enrollment form. And you want to make sure that you maintain a copy of that. And I do, whenever I get these, I always make a digital copy. I've got copies back all the way back to 2022. So in the event that a player loses a registration or their player eligibility form, I can reproduce that. And if you guys run into that problem where you're like, I had it, but the coach never returned the book last year, give me a call, give Rhea a call. She's the secretary. She keeps track of all that stuff, right? So once we get the tournament verification form signed, like I said, it is good for life. If you were to get a tournament verification form signed as a T-baller, you wouldn't need to have proof of anything until they got out of the program, because that signature is good as long as they keep playing. So now if they move, here's where the 2D comes in. So if they move, whether it's schools or it's residency, you look at the 2D, and actually, give me a second here. I'm going to bring this up right quick. So gonna, if you guys question where I get my brackets from, right here. I don't make them up. 2Ds. There it is. Regulation 2D waiver. And
So Bishop, I have a player when they initially enrolled was at a school in our district, the
Okay.
elementary, the middle school is not in our district.
okay,
I have this form. I just need to sign it and send it to you and you sign it. Is that how that goes?
that's exactly how that goes. You're going to fill out all this information in here, right? It's going to get, your information, the league ID, the level that they're playing at, the child's name, the date of birth. And then if they moved schools, you're going to fill out former school location within boundary. And then you'll put in the years that they played and just check off the player's address or school has changed, right? And you'll sign it, I'll sign it, and then it's done. That's all. It doesn't need to go anywhere else. And then you'll keep a copy of this. I'll keep a copy of this. You can actually have the parents keep a copy of this so that everybody knows we've got this, right? And
Bishop, is the original school enrollment form needed as well?
yes, as a supporting document. And then we just we'll coordinate the former school location within boundary address with what's on the school enrollment form. And then everything is good. Now, the same thing applies with address. You have to have the 3 proofs that they were originally qualified with to go with the 2D. The other thing that's nice, if you've got a player who is in your situation, they moved, they went to a different school, and now they have a sibling that is going to that same school, however that works out, right? We've got a lot of dynamic family issues out there with, blended families and such. That sibling could qualify based upon the 2D of their sibling. And we wouldn't need to go through an out of bounds waiver or anything like that.
Bishop, how does it work now that they've done it where if it's your first time enrolling, you're under the age of, what was it, 7, and you had a sibling that enrolled, what is that?
Thanks for bringing that up. That's a great one there. You actually don't do anything. The wonderful thing about that is when you go to pull them onto the affidavit, if they signed up in Sports Connect properly, if when they signed up the children, they made them siblings, then when it looks at the 4 to 7-year-old, it will automatically give eligibility to the older sibling. But you got to make sure they tie that link and name the sibling when they do the enrollment. And you can go back and do it now if you need to. So if you go through and you check and that sibling eligibility isn't available on the affidavit, contact the parents and have them go into their Sports Connect account and verify that they did that. And if they did and it didn't take for some whatever reason, call me and we'll get things squared out through Central Region and Williamsport so that we can get that done. But other than that, there is no paperwork required for sibling eligibility on the 4 to 7-year-olds.
So we wouldn't need to provide 3 proofs of address for a player, say in the senior division, whose sibling is 7 that also plays at our park.
That is correct.
Okay.
Makes life a lot easier, doesn't it?
True.
So the way Little League is building is they want to capture the T-ballers. And with the new central registration system, after we get down the road another 3 or 4 years, this portion of the deal is going to be so much simpler on a 80% scale, because most of these are going to be eligible from when they were playing T-ball for you and they stayed. So then all you're doing is hunting and picking out of the affidavit, and it's not a big deal. The ones that'll cause you issues and we're going to run into some bumps and bruises are these ones that come in at 9 years old and they just moved into the district, and now we've got to go through the stuff that we're going through now. But I would hope by the time we get to that point, Little League will have their website squared away a little better so that can be submitted ahead of time. And then you guys have all that ready to go. So I'm hoping, and I don't know if I've got everybody on board with this, if everybody realizes this. Sports Connect is actually done at the end of this season. And Playmetrics is the new platform that they're going to be using, and it's actually up and running right now. So, and we're at the end of the tournament season, we're going to do a talk about Playmetrics. It might not be until September, but we're definitely going to do it before we close out for the winter. Okay. Because I want you guys to know what your registration system is going to be before you get to your registration period. The nice thing about that is if you get a chance, go watch YouTube videos on the demonstration for Playmetrics, or even download the app and play with it a little bit. It's actually going to become like your, not only your central registration hub, but it's also going to become your central communication hub too. So everybody who registers, you'll be able to message directly through the app on their phone. It'll be kind of nice. I like it. I'm looking forward to it. So, all right. Okay, let's talk about proofs of residency. The 3 proofs in the 3 different categories. Let's see if we've got that. Back up. Back up. Okay. Let's get bigger. You got to have 1 proof in each group if you're going to do proofs of residency. Okay. If you're going to do school enrollment form, you just need the school enrollment form. But if you're going to do proofs of residency, you've got to have 1 out of group 1, 1 out of group 2, 1 out of group 3. I'm going to give you the cleanest, simplest way to do this for 80% of the people out there. If you have a driver's license, that's group 1. Nice. If you have a driver's license, you're probably driving something like a car, which has a vehicle registration, right? But a vehicle registration also counts as a state record. So the vehicle registration can count as a group 2 state record. What you can't have would be a vehicle registration and a car lease. That's not going to work. Okay. So if you've got your driver's license and your vehicle registration and your cell phone bill, you're done. That's all you need. Everybody's got a cell phone bill. Most people are driving cars. Hopefully most people are driving cars with a legal registration and a legal driver's license. If your family can't do that, then you've got to just check out the different things available in each group. So, employment records would be a pay stub. School records would be an actual report card with the child's address on it. And it would have to be from prior to February 1st of this year. So do you guys check this right here? Are we familiar with this? The requirements for the documents so that they show that you were in the district, you were in the boundaries prior to the beginning of that season. You didn't just move into the boundaries, May 1st and start playing ball there. They don't want that to happen. So but essentially, if you've got something dated mid 2025, it's going to be good. Generally, a driver's license, as long as it was in effect between those periods, is fine. Vehicle registration that's in effect during those periods is fine. And then a utility bill, cell phone bill, credit card statement, whatever, medical records, anything that's going to be in effect during those time periods, February 1st, 2025 and February 1st, 2026. Questions about that before we move on? Good
I
deal.
think I have a question.
Yeah, what do you got?
So with the whole blended family thing,
Yeah.
so the step parent did the registration. It's
Okay.
got her name all over it, the address. Of course, they live with the player's parent.
Yeah.
Who has to be on all of this? So if they have bills that only have her name on them, how does that work?
Okay.
Does it have to be
So,
their biological parent on the, say, on the registration or on the utility bill?
okay. What I've done with this for simplicity's sake, do they have a copy of the marriage license?
I can find out.
Okay. If they do, solves all the problems, right?
Okay.
Because then you know that this person is married to this person and then da da da, right? As long as they have the proofs in the groups, if it's in the spouse's name, I'm good with that. Now, if here's what I'm going to tell you guys, if this is the situation and come time for me to show up and sign off the books, and you can tell me these people are married, they just don't have time because of the time frame we're in to get down and get a copy of their marriage license. I'm okay with that. I'm going to sign it off. But if your team advances, they got to have that. Fair enough? I don't want to make
Thank you.
this, yeah, I don't want to make this a situation where we've got to jump through 1,000 hoops to make these kids eligible to play. But if we can just find simple ways to prove that they are where they are from a, and I don't have a lot of people doing proof of residency anymore. Everybody is pushed over to either the sibling or to the school enrollment form. And I got a lot of waivers coming through now. So, but if you got questions about the 3 proofs of residency, give me a call, reach out. We'll be more than happy to take a look at what everybody has and let everybody know real quick. Yeah, this is acceptable. No, this is not acceptable, and why. What needs to be done. So, okay. And if you guys do proof of residency or you do a school enrollment form, keep those copies of those documents with the player verification form. So as you move forward, you've got everything you need to support that document moving forward. I don't expect you to keep paper copies of it. Oh my gosh. The banker's boxes in Marlon's basement. It's too much. It's a fire hazard is what it is. We as a district will digitally copy everything. I've got a OneDrive that I keep everything stored on. We don't keep copies of birth certificates. You don't need to keep copies of birth certificates. In the event that you have a player question about their age because they are blessed by God to be gigantic at 12, then we're going to allow you time to produce the birth certificate at the tournament site. We're not trying to kick little kids out of making memories because little Johnny ate too many carbs and got gigantic. So everybody understand that? Straightforward. That's why I want to sit down at each one of your parks, have the parents come in with their birth certificates and your player verification forms, and just get those done and over with. That way that portion of it's off the plate. I hate during this time of the year sitting going through all these books on my desk, going through on the kitchen table and having hundreds of birth certificates sitting here. I don't like having those documents. I don't need those documents. I just need to see them. I need to know that they are a real birth certificate. And when I say real birth certificate, it must say issued by a county or state entity. It can't be issued by Memorial Hospital. That's not a birth certificate. That's a certificate of birth. And there is a difference because birth certificates don't have footprints. They have state seal stamps. And all I need to do is see that and compare that to the player verification form, and we are good to go. Let's scroll down here a little bit. See if we've got. Nope. Some people are going to say they can't get a birth certificate. And they said that to me every year that I've been a DA. And there is obtaining a statement in lieu of acceptable birth certificate. If you read through it, it is ridiculous. And most people find a birth certificate by the time they get through all this. So know that it is there. And if it needs to be dealt with, there is a pathway to it. If they came in and they migrated from another country and they're struggling to get something, we can deal with that. But I've never had it happen. I'm not saying it can't. I'm just saying it never happened. So usually birth certificates show up. Let's see if we've got this school enrollment form here real quick. Come on. School enrollment form. So the school enrollment form is pretty straightforward. You guys will fill all this stuff out at the top. And then either yourselves or the parents will take this to their administrator, right? Administrator, principal, vice principal. Make sure that the physical address here matches the physical address you're putting in your affidavit. I know some schools, because of the location, the size, I know Concord had an issue where they would take them to the administration building and they would put the address of the administration building as opposed to the school. It needs to be the school, right? You need to print the name of the school. You need to print the name of the administrator, the principal, or the vice principal. And you have to add the actual physical address of the school because that's what you're going to put into your affidavit when you set it up. Otherwise, we wind up doing a lot of editing and it's unfortunate because it just creates stress. But this is one of the things that I've seen as a pain point for us doing our player verification forms. So
Sorry,
any questions?
me again.
Yeah, go ahead. No, that's what we're here for.
So when you're doing the affidavit,
Yes.
With the school form, I would not put the player's home address in for them. I would put the school address in.
You would
Am I following that right?
Actually, when you go and you're building your affidavit, I believe it's section 3 or 4. I can't remember which one, but you're going to list all the schools and the school addresses that you have in your boundaries. And then when you get to the section where you're adding players, you'll select your player and then you'll select the school that they're attending. So then that on the affidavit will put the school and the school address. And then when I go to verify the affidavit and I look at this information right here, it needs to match what's on the affidavit. So if they put in the administration building and you put in the school address, those don't match and I can't sign that off. Make sense?
Got it. Thank you.
Yep. That's why I'm so critical about this particular form, this particular point. I had about 25 of them last year that I had to send back and have principals sign them again because they put the administration building on there. And I hate doing that because I'd almost rather just white them out and fix it. You know what I mean? Because they had the school name on there, and I'm like, yeah, you told me they went to this school, but why would you not put the school address on there? I guess realistically, if this said physical school address, that would be better. And that's probably something that we need to shoot to Little League and say, hey, update your form because you got print school name and you got school phone number, but you got physical address. And if it's an administrator, the administrator might not be in that school building, especially when you get these giant school corporations. So, okay. The last thing as part of the affidavit, and it requires a president's signature, is going to be the map that gets printed out with every one of your affidavits. It automatically happens. You just follow through the steps and it will point out where everybody is in your boundaries. And then if you've got players that are playing by siblings or by 2D or by what have you, you'll see them listed off to the side. So, and one of the things we can do as we get into this week in the evenings, if you need me to just start a Teams meeting and we can share screens and I can help you with your affidavit, that's not a big problem. We can make that happen. I just need to know ahead of time. I don't want to like have somebody call me at 4 and then somebody call me at 5 and then wind up not being able to help anybody because I'm double booked or what have you. But let's plan that out ahead of time. Shoot me a message. I'll respond and we'll make sure everybody gets all the help they need. It's a pretty straightforward process, but it does take some attention to detail. And when you do print out your affidavit, make sure you look at your supporting documents and make sure that the addresses and the birth dates and all those details for each one of those children match up. Because if they don't, we got to fix it. Make sense?
Hey, Bishop. So with that, we had, it was probably 2 or 3 years ago where you asked for out of bounds waivers to be done via an email chain.
Yes.
Where is that waiver document for that player when it was done through that process?
Don't write on mommy's.
Did you receive the document from Little League stating they have a out of bounds waiver?
The way I think the email was stated was that when we went, it wasn't going on the data center website when you were making requests for these out of bounds. It was the requesting park sent an email with your CC on it. Then the home park approved, disapproved. The parent was involved in it, but there was a series of like 4 or 5 steps that we had to go through for these out of bounds waivers. I don't know that I ever received an actual form for it.
So you don't know that you got a response from Central Region once it was done?
Again, I think a couple years ago, I think you were, if I remember correctly, it was just trying to keep everybody informed through the process, and then it
you have
went
a player
to
name by chance?
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you
Okay.
separately just to make sure we're good. But I was just curious because I didn't know if that changed or if that was something that Little League wanted to do. I again, it was 2 years ago, and that's when the player enrolled.
I've got, but every one of these that I have,
Okay.
here's a for instance, right? Where did?
All
where did
right,
it
so
go?
the player's name is John Eggleston, if you want to pull it up, just so we can all see it, but
Yeah, of course. Of course. I'll see if I've
I-
got it.
yeah,
So this is what you would expect to receive
okay.
as a form. Okay.
And that comes to our email address, correct?
I believe it does. Yes, I believe it does. So that's what you would have. And if you have this, then that's already going to be in the data center because these came issued from Little League directly.
It's 10 to 6.
Okay.
So, and would it have been in 24 2 years ago?
I'd bet 23, but like I said, we can talk about it later.
Yeah. Send me his name and I'll search it out. I'll send a request out to John and we'll see,
Okay.
what we can do with it. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we've kind of
Where-
gone through the affidavit from front to back. It's pretty straightforward. There is a section at the very beginning where you're going to fill out your league information. That'll be auto-populated. Actually, you're not going to fill that out. You'll need to have the manager sign it. You'll need to have the player agent sign it. You'll need to have the park president sign it. Those three things have to be signed with all of the supporting document before you present it to me. Then I can go through and initial off. Everybody is approved. And then once all the players on the roster are approved and they match, all the documents match and the map's proper, I can sign off on the affidavit and you guys are done. You're ready to play ball. So you're talking about 12 signatures per team. I know it seems like a lot right now, but the great thing about this system now, once you get, let me see where it's at. Come on. Where's the player eligibility, player registration, player league, player pitching, player training? Where is it? Calendars, tournament rules, player verification. There we go. Once you have this form completed, it's done. You just pull the packet back out at the end of the year or reprint it because you scanned it digitally and put it in the book. Move on, right? There's nothing else to do there. So before we close up, anybody have any questions, any concerns, any situations they're unsure about?
I do. I know I was late to the show here, but we're doing tryouts still. So I know we have to put player information in this affidavit when we fill it out.
Okay.
Can we add, adjust, and then once it's all set, print it, put it in our books to present to you? Or because you need all
What
this done by
You
tomorrow, right?
guys, the only thing that you need for tomorrow is you need to register that you're going to have a team.
Okay.
Okay, that you don't have to have teams built. I don't expect you to have rosters selected. Now, if you were in
Okay.
Florida, you'd have had rosters selected like a month ago.
Months
Because
ago,
if
yeah.
you can name your all-star team May 15th
Okay.
because they start playing in February, right? Or in January, depending on where they're at.
Right.
So
Arizona too.
exactly. So no, the only thing that's got to be done tomorrow night is you've got to know I'm going to put a team in and I'm going to go ahead and get that team registered. And then your roster on your affidavit, you can edit that as much as you need to edit that until you print it off and hand it to me. Then if you need to make changes prior to the tournament, you just have to get a hold of me. We got to get together and edit that out, right? We've got to verify the new player or we've got to verify that you're pulling somebody off. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Righty. And this, if you guys run into questions, please reach out. Don't struggle. Don't try to shoot me a quick text. Give me a phone call. I really like phone calls because I get to the end of problems quicker. During the day, it's a little challenging because I got a little bit of a stressful job, but in the evenings, I'm usually pretty open. I try to be in bed by 10 o'clock, but we'll see how that goes. So, all right.
Quick
One last call for
question.
questions. What was
Yeah,
that?
I have one. I have
Okay.
one. Just because this is my first time doing this. So I have some books from last year. So if I have players who are doing All-Stars again and they
Yep.
have this tournament player verification, do I need anything additional for them, like birth certificate, anything, or
No.
just that form?
Well, it should have the documents with it. It
Right.
should have what the proof of
Yes.
residency or school form, whatever. You just take
Yeah.
that packet, put it in a new book.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, once I sign off, that's the key for me. I'm gonna at the particular moment in time that you present this particular player to me with the tournament verification form, I am telling you that this player is eligible for tournament play, and as long as this player continues to play for your park, then they will continue to be eligible because they meet the requirements of eligibility at this particular moment. And if something changes, that's when we institute the 2D that we talked about earlier. So keep that in mind when you do registrations next year. And one thing I'd love to put out there for you guys to make life easier next year when if you come back as a player agent, when you do registrations, if you do like a in-person registration event, I know most of us are doing online now, but if you in March want to get everybody together that doesn't have a player verification form and have them come to your park, and we'll bring their birth certificate and their proofs of residency, their school verification. See, in March, it's real easy to get a school verification form signed. In June, it's a little more challenging. But if you want to set a time at the beginning of the season where we just go and we approve every player you want to approve, regardless of whether or not you feel they're going to be on the All-Star team, then that's done, right? And then you digitally copy that, and you can shred those documents after that, right? Once you digitally copy them. And then once you get to All-Star time, you make your selections, you print out all the supporting document that you need for your player verifications, and then you put that in the book and you're done. And you do all of your stress in your least stressful time. Trying to do all this for you guys now, I feel bad for you, because this end of the season, tournaments ramping up, people trying to get in and out and through, and it's a challenge. So I'm going to continue to offer that option, that whenever you guys are ready to have verification forms signed, give me a call. Let's set up a time. I'll come out there. It'll be real quick. The sad thing was I did this for Concord 3 years ago. I sat in their conference room upstairs for an hour and 45 minutes. I went through 2 pens signing off player verification forms, right? I want to make it as easy as possible as I can for you guys, because then you're focused on the kids and making sure that you got the right kids playing and not the kids that I can get to playing. And especially if every kid who comes through your program knows, hey, just a reminder, we do All-Stars. This is what it is. By then you should have fairly good dates, right? They may move a little bit, but you can always tell your parents from July 1st to July 17th, somewhere in that area, we're going to play district. Promise you. Now, senior baseball may always be a little earlier. 8-10 baseball may always be a little bit later, but that's the ballpark. Those first 2 weeks of July, that's when we're playing tournaments. So keep that in mind. Hopefully you can encourage people to take vacation at the end of July. All right. Any other questions? Good deal. All right. I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. I'll try to get the recording posted either tonight or tomorrow. I'll send a link to everybody for our YouTube channel so that you guys can, we're going to start to post that stuff. I think I'd like to see us kind of grow that in itself. If you guys have game footage or videos or anything you want to see posted up there, send them over to me. I'll be glad to get them up on our website. Draw some attention to our kids. So, all right, guys, I appreciate your time. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Bishop.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Bishop.
Thank you.
Yep, not a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. We'll see you.